Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I bring you greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus. How are you doing today? The Lord bless you. Now, this is the continuation of the video I uploaded yesterday, 2 days ago. I promised I was going to serialize that video, and funny enough, some haters don't even want to let me say what I want to say in the video. They're already concluding what they think they know. I also find out something in Christianity that, in the church, some persons may look at your face and hate you. And so because they don't like you, they may even be wishing that your image is tarnished. When they speak out from their mind, you know what they want. They want you to have scandals. And so we have had a lot of them here, and that is witchcraft. That is charismatic witchcraft. And these people are, they carry this on their head, and when they speak, they are the only holy people around. Well, I'm not going to dwell on that. They know themselves. So we're going to start from where we stopped last time. That is in case if you're still interested in the story. Some of you may have watched it in other channels, but I decided to take my time, to serialize this so that we take it one step at a time. I made it clear that the story itself is very dirty, and in as much as I know that there are those people who are from Apostle Chibuzor's church, or those who love him and like him, that would not want me to say anything about Chibuzor. And I have addressed you in the first video. I said when I was talking about the Happy Boys and the brother Samuel's family. Of course, that was when I made a lot of enemies, that I was defending Chibuzor, because I was saying the truth as it has to do with the matter. And I didn't come out and say he's an occultic. He was using those philanthropy to buy people's destiny. So the haters are still after me, But that does not make any difference. I'm not actually trying to buy anybody's conscience. There are so many things I see that I'm so surprised and shocked that human being will be reasoning at that level. But then it is an eye-opener, so we are learning every day. So in case you are from Apostle Chibuzor's side and you don't want this video to be talked about, I guess you have to travel over the social media to pull it down from all the platforms and all the people that have done it. I'm actually recently coming in contact with this video, so I'm going to do something about it. So we're going to listen to Imalbon Loveth in her story as she continued to tell her story in her words. Like when I uploaded the first video, I said that there was nothing ambiguous in all the story that the girl told, but that it will not be clearer now, because you cannot use a video of 45 minutes or thereabout to understand the story of 2 hours 30 minutes. So I decided to serialize it so that you will understand how actually they came into contact, who made the initial move, who wanted who most, who was doing what, was she first, or she seduced Apostle Chibuzor. All this we're going to get to, and then before we begin to break it one after the other. So let's go as we listen to her story. Happy viewing.
You are welcome to the End Time Truth Television, the channel for the lovers of truth, for the truth of the end time. So if you are a lover of truth, give us a subscription, and God bless you. Shalom.
What about his kids?
Outside his workers.
What about his kids?
He has a daughter with his wife, and the child is in Canada with his wife.
Oh, the wife lives in Canada while he lives alone in the Port.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How many rooms is he staying?
I think it's about a 7. It's like a mansion, about 7 bed or 8.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So he now said, if people want to stay, you can stay. That was how staying in his house started.
Okay.
So at that point, him asking us to stay in his house, I don't think there was anybody that would have rejected it.
Right.
Because we all saw him. He was the father every child would have wanted to have. Every child would want to have him as a father. He was good. He would provide for you, and you would not lack around him. So we all accepted. We said, okay. And we were excited and happy. Yes. Sorry, go and tell him to do it for you. Okay. So that was it. We started staying in his house. He was like, okay, when you're done eating, the driver can take you to your different houses to just get 1 or 2 things. That was it. So we came back and started staying there. This was around October, November in 2018.
2018, okay.
Yes. So we go to church with him, come back from church with him. You're living in his house. You cannot just carelessly walk out of the gates. He has to be aware you are leaving. The securities will always confirm from him before you're permitted to leave the gates.
Okay.
So we were always inside. If anybody wanted something, he would give someone money. You go with the driver to go buy it and come back.
Okay.
So that was it. And then while we were still there, there was a day I went to church and I met this guy by name Chinedu Nweke. So Chinedu, normally he's an usher in the church. So I've known him for a while after I started attending the church. Sometimes we just greet. So this particular day he actually walked up to me and like greeted me. So we just talked. And then it was like he has been seeing me all this while and he actually liked me or something. I was like, I just laughed because to me it was funny. I was like, okay, no problem. So he asked for my contact to him. So we started talking. After a while, he said he liked me and he would want to marry me. I told him that very day, no, please don't talk about marriage. I stay in daddy's house and daddy has already promised to send me to school. So if you're talking about marriage, you have to wait. Maybe when I'm back from school or whatever, then we can talk about marriage, not now. He now said, but that doesn't stop us from being friends. I said, okay, if it is friends you want, no problem. He said he can also support me while I'm in school. So I said, fine, we can just be friends. And that was it. So we talk, most times we talk on the phone. Then if I come to church, we just see, and that was it. So towards this December, the Christmas and everything, I was supposed to write my WAEC, which the pastor said when the registration started, I should meet the church welfare to register me for WAEC, which I went to them, but I did not get any response. As at this time, Apostle was outside the country. It's not like I did not have his number to call him, but I had so much respect for him. So I never see myself calling him for whatever reason. So I was not able to call him and I did not. But I went to welfare. They asked me to go to the school I want to register and bring the bill, which I did, but they never responded to me and I let it be. After the Christmas, January, Apostle was back to Nigeria and asked that we come back. This was towards November, December that he traveled.
He came back when?
I think he came back that same December.
Okay.
Towards Christmas. Yes, towards Christmas.
Okay.
So when he came back, he called all of us. We can always come back to his house. So now you see, during the period he traveled, I missed registering for WAEC and it was closed already. So the normal human being, I was just like, okay, if I couldn't get the school, because I know that missing to register for WAEC, that means to take it another 1 year before you can get it. And even if you're applying for school outside the country, you cannot do it without WAEC.
Right.
Okay, so I was like, people still get married and still go to school. Okay, since I missed the WAEC, okay, maybe I can just tell this guy, if he's actually serious, he can go ahead with the marriage. So after the Christmas, I told this to the guy. I also told Apostle Chibuzor about this guy. This was in January 20.
We network issue. Let's wait for her to reconnect.
19.
Okay.
Sorry, the call came into my phone, so I dropped it.
Okay. 2019, January.
Yes, this was in January 2019. I told Apostle about this guy. He said, wow, that was good. Bring him. Let me pray for both of you. I took him to his office. It was on a Sunday in the church. And he prayed for us. He asked him some questions, which the guy answered, and that was it. So this guy had followed me to my place back home to see my dad. Nothing was paid. Nothing was done. But he actually...
Dad.
Sorry?
So I want to understand. Is he a biological dad?
No, he's my grandfather.
Okay, but because he told me you're not fan, right?
Yes,
okay.
He's my grandfather. He's the one that raised me ever since I was small.
Okay.
So I see him as my father, yes.
What year did your parents die?
My mom died 2016, January.
Okay.
Yes.
How old were you then?
I think 2016, I should have been about 18 or so. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So he met my dad, collected list. He didn't pay anything. We came back to Port Harcourt, which Apostle was aware. This was in January. So, and meanwhile, throughout this January, I was still living in Apostle's house with other children. We were living there. So while this guy was busy thinking about the marriage with his people, I was in Apostle's house. We're doing our thing, living our life. Everything was okay. There was no issues. But I think every time children started increasing because some mothers will come to beg him, please, they have 4 children and they're not well to do if he can help with 1 or 2. And he doesn't know how to reject. So he's just like, okay, you can let one of your child join the children in my house. So you see, the children started increasing in the house. They were staying in the house. So that's how everything was going. Until towards March, getting to April. There was a day I slept. Everything was okay while we were in his house. He took care of us. We never lacked. He was good. So there was a day everyone had gone to sleep. All of us had gone to sleep. I had also gone to sleep. That particular morning, I woke up I followed him on Facebook as of then. He was my Facebook friend, but there was nothing like chats. We never had a WhatsApp chat or Facebook or whatsoever. Sorry, don't worry. So I woke up one morning, and then when I woke up, I pick up my phone. The normal way you wake up. Sorry. Nothing. So I pick up my phone. The normal way you pick up your phone, put on your data, and then if you've had message over the night, you start seeing it. So I picked up my phone when I woke up that morning, and then I put on my data, and I was getting messages. So a particular message got my attention. This message came with his picture, and it was the same picture as his profile picture then on Facebook.
Who is that?
Apostle Chibuzor.
Okay.
So I was like, could Daddy send me a message in the night? Oh, let me see what it is. So I click on the message. At first, I thought maybe because I know so many people use his pictures for their profile picture. So when I clicked on it, it took me to his page. Then I came back to the message. And what was there was, see me later today. We need to talk. That was the content of the message.
Can you remember the date the message was sent? Is it possible?
I can't remember the date, but this was between March, April 2019.
Okay. Was this sent to the same Facebook you're using now or what?
No. That my Facebook account was hacked a long time ago.
Okay.
Yes. So he now sent me that message. So when I saw that message, in my mind I was like, why did he have to send me a message when once this morning I'll still get to see him and everything? But I didn't think about it that much, and I did not reply to that message. So I just let it be. By morning when everybody had woken up, freshen up, and everyone gets to see. So normally when the children are done taking their breakfast, they are always with him. So sometimes they are with him in his room. So when I was done with what I was doing that morning, I also went to his room. I greeted him, he answered me, and I was like, Daddy, I didn't hide to say it to him. The children were there, and I said it. Daddy, I saw your message. You said I should see you. I hope I did not do anything wrong. So he actually signaled for me to be quiet.
He did that?
Yes. And inside me, I wasn't a child. So I felt somehow about that. But I still did not want to think much because of who he is. And then he now asked the children, who wants to swim? Everybody were like, me, I want to swim. So he now said, okay, all of you can go and swim. So yes, there's a swimming pool in his house. So I had to join the children. I say, me too, I want to swim. Or I joined the children to leave. And he was like, everybody except Loveth.
That's you.
Yes. Sorry. Amen. Good. Try to give you biscuits. Okay, she'll give it to you. Okay. So he was like, everybody except Loveth. And I stayed back. At some point, I felt scared. And then the children left. He asked me to sit. At this point, it was just me and him in his room. I felt somehow, and I asked him, Daddy, this one is only me and you. I hope nothing is wrong, or did I do anything wrong? He was like, no, don't be scared. So he asked me to sit, and I did. He asked me to switch off my phone. I was still feeling somehow because I wasn't understanding. Like, before that day, there has never been any sign whatsoever. I have never behaved in any bad way whatsoever to him in the house. So, to me, I felt somehow, but then I had to sit. And then he was just looking at me. I was like, Daddy, why are you looking at me? Is there a problem? Did I do anything wrong? He said no, that he wanted to talk to me. I said, okay. He now started talking. He was saying different things in parable, saying different things. I now said, because the way more he was talking, I was feeling scared. I was not scared, not like maybe I haven't heard those words before. I was scared because it was coming from him.
From words like what? Can you just example?
Okay. He said, the first thing he said was that he wants to talk to me, but that he wants to make an instance. That let us say that I always eat banana. Whenever I am done eating, I always eat. They will give me banana to eat. So after a while, they stopped giving me this banana. So one day, after so many years, I now see this banana from somebody and I want to eat it. But I cannot buy this banana. But I really want this banana. That's if I find myself in such situation, that what will I do?
Who is saying this thing?
Yes. That stop that, please. He said, if I find myself in such situation, what will I do?
Who is saying this?
Apostle Chibuzor.
Okay. And you were the only one there? It
was just me and him in the room.
In his private room?
Sorry?
His bedroom?
Yes, in his bedroom.
Okay.
In his bedroom. Come stay with Auntie, okay? Okay. So, this was in his bedroom. And I was like, I told him, if I was in that situation, I've seen the banana I want to eat, but I cannot buy it, I'll simply ask the person that is with banana to give it to me. He now said, okay, that what if it will be very, very difficult for that person to give it to me, or the person might reject me, but I really want it. I said, I just have to beg first. Since I can't buy it, I just have to beg first. So he kept.
How old were you then?
I think I was 18 then.
18 years, okay.
Yes. So I kept asking. He kept asking questions based on it. So at some point, I was getting frustrated because I did not want to assume where he was going to. I now asked him, I said, Daddy, please, the question is too much. Tell me what it is. Like, is there something you want to say you're not able to say, or something? Just say it. Let me hear. He now said, okay, that he wants me to do something for him. This thing it will be very difficult for me to do it, but he knows that if I want to do it, I can do it. So at that point, he was not shifting somewhere else. I was like, Daddy, I've not seen you beg somebody for help before. So if you ever need help, I don't think anybody will reject you from giving you help, because you've always helped everybody. He now said, okay, now that's okay. Let him tell me what it is. That what if he asks me to go into a relationship with him? That what will I say? At that point, my assumption, everything that was in my head came to the conclusion and everything. I was confused. I didn't know what to answer, not because of what he said, but because it was coming from him. I was already sweating. There was AC in the room, but I was sweating and I was scared at the same time. So I was like, I don't understand. But Daddy, there is somebody I want to get married to, and you're aware. So why are you actually asking me to do something like this? Why will you ask me to do something like this? What will I tell him? He said, you don't have to tell him. He doesn't have to know. You just keep it between us. I was like, Even if you're asking me to go into a relationship with you, what kind of relationship exactly? He said I should come on, I should stop talking like I'm a child. Why am I talking like I don't know what I said, no, I don't want to assume. You have to say what you want. So what kind of a relationship are you talking about? He said, okay, since I want him to say it, that he is actually looking for a sexual relationship. I said, Daddy, you're a pastor. Yes.
By name?
He said, Daddy, Apostle Chibuzor.
Okay, allegedly.
Yes.
Okay.
He said that after all, he's a man. He has flesh and blood running in his vein. In my head.
He was sent this to you?
Yes. In my head, I was trying to comprehend like where this whole idea or whatever it was coming from. So I told him, I said, what if I say no? What if I say no? I want to say no. I don't want to do it. He said, just know that you cannot say no. You know me already. I do not take no for an answer. In fact, he got angry at that moment and said, why do you even think you can say no? You can't say no. I cannot take no for an answer. Who do you even think you are to want to say no to me? People, you do know how many ladies that are at my beck and calls, but it's just because I can't go to outside to start doing nonsense. I cannot do this because of who I am. This one, a general overseer. I'm bringing myself down to ask you for something like this, and you're saying no. Who do you think you are? You cannot say no. I was like, wow. But I still want to know, what if I say no? What will come with it? He said, in that case, be ready to leave my house. And if you're leaving my house, don't think that I will let you go just like that. Because I know people will start asking you, because people know I like you very well and that you are my daughter. So if you leave my house without you committing any crime, people will start asking questions. And I know you will talk. So if you leave my house, don't think I'll just let you go like that. To me, that was a threat. It was a threat to me.
Allegedly. If it's what he said is a threat, yes.
Yes. So I don't know if I should say I thought about this whole thing. I could not think about it. I just told him that, please, I wanted to sleep. This thing was on a Saturday evening. I told him, please, I needed to sleep. I've heard you and I will think about it.
I remember the month.
Sorry?
I remember the month and the year.
This was in 2019, between March and April.
Okay.
Yes. I left his room that day. He was calling me back and I left his room. I went to my room where we do sleep with other children. I couldn't think. I don't know. I did not know what to do at that point and I was confused.
No.
I tried my best to avoid him throughout that day. So the next day, we all went to church. I was in church and he was on the altar preaching. I wasn't saying him. Everything I was saying was the things he was saying into my head. They keep sounding, they keep coming back, but I was just on my own. I was just there. Nobody knew what I was going through. We came back to the house that Sunday. I tried my possible best to avoid him. And then on Monday, he sent for me.
Oh, no.
On Monday, he sent for me. That the children came, Daddy, Auntie Loveth, Daddy's calling you. What will I tell the children? If I tell them to go and tell him that I'm not coming, what will I be explaining to them? So I just stood up and I went to meet him. He was like, are you still thinking? I'm sure you've made up your mind about this whole thing, that he doesn't know what I'm thinking about. After all, it's not like I'm a virgin. After all, that if I just agree, whatever I wanted, he will give me. Is it house? What is it that he cannot give me? Money. I'm planning for my wedding. He was going to give me the best wedding in Port Harcourt. Was going to do this. He started saying so many things. I was just looking at him. When he finished talking, I asked him, I said, I am aware that if I agree to this, it is going to be a hidden relationship, right? He said, yes. I said, fine. In this situation, what if I get pregnant? He said, is he a child? That he won't let me get pregnant. I said, it's not about being a child. Pregnancy can happen. So if you're saying you won't let me, it's the same thing that you have to use protection, whatever will happen, if at all anything will happen. He said, but how do I expect him to go and get protection? What will he tell people he wants to use it for? Imagine if him going outside. I said, if that is the case, I will buy it for you. I asked him for money. He gave me 10,000 naira cash that day. And then I went out. I went to everyday supermarkets and I bought him a pack of Durex. Yes.
Durex, that's
came back to the house. Yes. Came back to the house. Gave it to him. He was just looking at me and I left. So the next day, he was actually still asking. I have thought about the whole thing because honestly, it's not like I haven't been in a relationship. But someone like him, who he is, the threats, the fear, I was not aware if he had a dirty lifestyle I did not know before now. So I did not know what to be scared of. I didn't know, like, my head was full. So when people are asking, did he rape you? So it wasn't a rape. So when I thought about this whole thing, I said, okay. I told him, fine, if this is what you want, no problem. But on one condition, I don't ever want to get pregnant. He said he has heard me. I should stop preaching. That do I even see him like someone who will not be able to take care of his child? If anybody get pregnant for him, I said, okay, thank God you're the one saying this. So the relationship started. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice. He kept demanding for sex.
So he had his way.
Yes, he had his way. And at each single time, he refuses to use the protection.
Are you serious?
And I made sure I always reminded him. I said, I ask you to use protection and you're always refusing. He said, I am in his house and I cannot call the shots. I can't tell him what to do in his house. So he called the shots and he decides what happened. And I kept telling him, don't get me pregnant and expect me to go for abortion because I will not. Yeah. I told him this. He said I should stop preaching. I said, no problem. He kept having his way. Now, this whole thing started in March.
When you say he kept having his way, what do you mean by that?
When I mean that, he kept demanding for sex.
Was he? Yes. Did it happen? Did he sleep with you? Did he have sex with you?
And it happened. Yes. He kept sleeping with me without protection.
Okay.
Yes. So this was between March and April, May, June. Okay. It was in May. This whole thing, I still could not, like, the whole, when stuff like this are happening, everything just happens so fast. So meanwhile, the guy I was supposed to marry was still planning for the marriage. So I approached Apostle and I told him, I said, please, you are the general overseer of OPM and I'm having an affair with you. And the person who wants to marry me is an usher in the church. I don't think I can do this
anymore.
I don't want to put myself in the middle. I don't want to go ahead with this marriage whatsoever. At least let me know I'm dealing with one thing.
Yes.
I don't want to go ahead with the marriage. He said, no, if you go ahead with the marriage, what if the guy did not agree? What if people start suspecting? I said, suspect what? I don't want to go ahead with the marriage. This guy is an usher in your church. What do you think? So after the whole end of the day, after this whole affair and everything, I get married to this guy and then I'll go to church and I'll be looking at the both of you. I don't want to put myself in this. He refused. So I couldn't keep quiet about it. I went to church that week. I met this guy. I told him, please, I don't want to go ahead with this marriage. I'm calling it off.
Yes.
The guy pled up and said, one man was deceiving me. Somebody wants to take me away from him. He's not going to let me go. He has prayed. God told him and his wife, this and that. He was saying stuff. I left him because he started ranting and was shouting and was talking. I left him. This was in church. So before I knew it, the guy has gone to marriage committee, our assistant pastor, reported to so many people that he doesn't know who is trying to take me away from him because people knew us in the church. So they called me that day in Apostle's office. And Apostle started asking me why I wanted to call off the marriage in front of people. He was not the one asking me why I wanted to call off the marriage. So I just told him, I don't want to marry the guy again. I don't want to go ahead with it because I knew at that time I couldn't say anything. So he was now that I have told you, you have already told me this thing in the house. And I told you, don't worry, go ahead with the marriage. I'll set you up. I'll set the guy up. I'll do this. You will be okay. This one, that. I said that it's not about setting us up. I don't want to marry
Hold on.
This guy.
Hold on. Do you want to take your water? Do you want like take a water?
No, sir, I'm fine.
Good. Okay, like, your light is off.
It's getting dark. There's no light.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I told him, I just don't want to marry.
Is it possible to face towards the window so your face can be showing?
Sorry, sir, you said?
Is it possible to face towards the window so your face can be showing?
Okay.
Okay, good.
So I told him I don't want to go ahead with this marriage. He now said, in front of people were there in his office. He now said, I shouldn't worry about it. I'm just a child. That love grows. So when we get married after a while, that love will grow. I said, it's not about love. I personally do not want this marriage again. He refused, and I was objecting to it. So people started saying that why am I being disobedient? Why am I disobeying Apostle? That I'm ungrateful. Apostle picked me up, brought me up, and now Apostle is talking and I cannot obey him. The whole people in the church started saying I was ungrateful, I was a riffraff, I was a rat to even stand in front of Apostle and disobey him and stuff like that. And I left the office. That meeting was closed. We came back to the house. He would like that he's sorry, that he saw the way people were talking to me, that he's sorry. I didn't answer him. That wasn't it. He kept asking for the sex. So after that day in church, I kept saying it, I don't want to marry this guy. His sisters, his workers, everyone in the compound that time, even in church, knew that Loveth said she did not want to marry, but Daddy was asking her to marry. Now, the problem is nobody knew what I was actually going through. Nobody knew what was the problem. And I couldn't have told anybody. Okay, imagine now, this whole story is out. People still don't want to believe. So imagine if I had said it then, who would have believed me?
Right.
Nobody would have believed me. So I just kept quiet. He started paying for stuff for the marriage. He started doing this, that. So after a point, I told him, if I ever go ahead with this marriage, I'm doing it to please you and nothing more. He said he knew. So I met this guy. After I had told this guy severally, I don't want this marriage. So I called this guy. I said, please, can you come to Apostle's house? I want to see you. The guy came to his house and I told him, I said, I don't want to marry you. Please, I might not be able to tell you the problem or what the issue is, but if you can help me and forget about this whole marriage of a thing, maybe later in the future, I will tell you what the problem is, but not right away.
Were you pregnant there that time? You were telling him?
No, as of this time, this was around May, June, I was not pregnant.
Okay.
So this guy still refused. So at that point, I got angry and I told him, if I go ahead with this marriage, it is not because I love you. It's not because I want to marry you. I'm going ahead with this marriage because I'm just trying to please Apostle. I said this to the guy. He was just shaking his head. And then I still went ahead to tell him that even after this marriage, whatever you see in this marriage, you will take it. He said, yes, he will take it. I said, fine. Say you want marriage. Oh yeah, let us go. And that was it. I never said anything. I know so many people, his sisters tried to talk to him, tried to talk to Apostle to cancel the marriage. He refused. So the marriage was fixed 20th July. The wedding was fixed 20th July 2019. He paid for everything.
Who paid?
He did. Even while the wedding preparation was still going on, he was still demanding for sex.
The Apostle or their husband?
Yes. No, not. I'd never even visited the guy.
So you didn't have any premarital sex with the guy before marriage?
Never. No.
Okay.
Not anyone at all. I did not visit him. The only time I visited him was when we were planning for this marriage and his mother came around.
Okay.
So he called that his mother was around. So to fulfill all righteousness now, I had to go and see his mother.
Right.
I went. I greeted the woman. I spent some time and then I left. Yes. Now, if somebody would say, who knows if you people actually did anything? Now, this guy was living in a self-contained. So a self-contained is just a room, toilet, and kitchen. So the mother was there. And when I was done seeing the mother, I left back to Apostle's house. And he was aware I went to see the guy's mother. So now the wedding was fixed 20th July. Everything was done. Fast forward to the wedding. We all went for the wedding. I wasn't happy. Normally, the OPM church that I know, on the wedding morning, they will conduct a pregnancy test for all the bride because most of the time they do wedding 5-10 people at a time. So I don't know, I wouldn't say, and I don't want to assume. That very morning on that wedding day, a pregnancy test was not conducted. So we went ahead with the wedding on the 20th of July and we came back. And I was like, it's actually a month plus and I haven't seen my period. So the next day was a Sunday. I went to church. Now, the thing is this, my next period was supposed to be 20th of July. And 20th was my wedding. And there was nothing. So the next day was on a Sunday, 21st. I went to church, 1 p.m., nothing. So I actually knew something is actually wrong. So I went to the church medical department. I have a friend that worked there. Her name is Love.
Love who?
Yes.
Love who?
I asked her, I said, please, if people have a test strip, she said,
Love.
yes.
Love.
I said, okay, can you give me one? She did.
Hold on, what's her full name?
Love Godwin Ihotu.
Okay. What is her position in the...
Yes. She was a nurse there. She was a nurse in the medical department there. Yes. So I got the test strip and I went to do the pregnancy test. Now, the wedding was yesterday, Saturday. The next day was the Sunday, which I did this test, and it was in the church, and it came out positive. And I was shocked because I know I never had anything to do with that guy until the wedding night.
Did they give you a result of the test?
The test was a urine pregnancy test.
Yeah, did they give you a result like after the test?
No, I said I did it myself.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yes, it was a test strip. It was a test strip. I did myself. So I left that day. The next morning, I went to the hospital. I called him. I told him I was coming to his house. He said, okay, because I told him there was a problem and that I was coming to his house. He said, okay, this was on Monday morning, 22nd. Now, Apostle that I know, if you tell him something, you have to prove what you're saying. So that morning before I went to his house, I went to a hospital and I did a pregnancy test with blood, and it still came out positive. I went to his house, and what I did, I told him there was a problem and I gave him the pregnancy results.
You gave it to him directly?
Yes, I gave it to him directly. He saw it and was like, what is this? I said, look at it. He started smiling, but he didn't say anything.
Okay,
he now said, okay, hold on. Hold on.
You went to a lab to do the blood test?
Yes. I went to a lab.
What's the name of the lab?
I actually can't remember, but I have that test result with me.
Okay.
That particular test result, I have it with me, and I still remember the hospital address.
Okay, good.
Yes. So I gave it to him. He saw it and was like, okay, you know what? Hold on. We will talk. Let me attend to my visitors. When he was done, he now called me. It was in his golden parlor. We went to his parlor. And then he started asking me that, what are we going to do? I said, we don't have to do anything. What are we going to do? This was your plan and you've succeeded. So why are you asking me what we are going to do? I told you I won't go for abortion, so you shouldn't even bring that idea. He said, what of your mother-in-law? I said, she's there. She's in the village. And I said, won't she know? I said, I don't know. He now said, but then you have to abort it. I said, I will not.
He said that to you, that you should abort it?
Yes, he said I should abort it. I told him I will not abort it. I made it clear to you, use protection, but you refuse. So this is the consequences of it, and I will not abort the pregnancy. Okay, come to even think of it. Day before yesterday was my wedding, and you're asking me to go for an abortion 2 days later. What if I don't get pregnant again? He said, don't worry. After the abortion, I'll pray for you. I said, I don't want.
He said that to you?
Yes. I said, I don't want. And that was it. I left him because he wanted to make an issue out of it. You have to abort it. What if you now have the baby and people get to know? I said, are you even thinking about my own life at all? What if something happens to me? He said, after all, you're not the first. So many people must still die. Is it you that will not come and die? I didn't answer him. I just walked out and I left him. Came back to my house.
You're not the first. That means allegedly he has been doing that.
Probably, as of then.
Now, I must confess to you that, I'm also listening to some of these things for the very first time. Like I told you that the one I uploaded, that was edited and, kind of summed up in a way. But this has more details that I have missed out completely. And that was why I warned in the first instance that everybody should see the sword. Whatever you have to say about the pastor or about the girl, hold on. Now, because we were all thinking, or we're all looking at it, that the girl planned it ahead of time to use the pregnancy to pin it on the apostle. Now, even if she did that, even if that was what she eventually did, or it looks like that is what she is doing now. Now, if you had listened to this story now from where we started up until this point, you will understand that that was not her initial plan, and she never had any intention of doing this with the apostle. And it has been said that whoever contacted apostle on this, he owned up to everything. At least the first one you listened to, when the DPO called him, he has accepted it. And there's also a leaked conversation between him and this guy here, which he didn't deny everything, but he didn't deny anything, but only that he was saying that the girl was out now to cause a scandal. Now, I'm afraid to say that I'll have to start from the last one, that after the abortion he was going to pray for the girl. Now, it gets me thinking that we are actually in a dark age, where prayer and whatever, speaking in tongues, is used to cover up for so many things. Now, as a matter of fact, I like Apostle Chibuzor, gift, not really because of his philanthropy. I like, the way he started from telling his background, and that is the humility of that background and his large heart, which this girl had not denied. She hasn't denied it. And I want to say that his philanthropy is not the kind that you say he is showing it. He's showing off. Because when you come to all the children, according to the girl that are in the house, we never knew about all those things. So he kept the children in the house, and he has been a true father figure to them. All right. So now, but we must set these things apart. We must look away from the philanthropy now and face the reality, because what gave him access to the resources through which he's doing the philanthropy is first and foremost his office as a pastor. Now, that office as a pastor must never ever be desecrated. Now, for a pastor to tell a girl that he impregnated to go and do abortion, now that was almost akin to committing double sin. Now, sleeping with a girl that was betrothed to your son makes, the man very, very responsible. I'm sorry, I'm going to use this language. It might be too harsh, but that is how it sounds. When this, marriage was being contracted, you knew you prayed for them, you approved it. And when your visitor came at night, even if that was going to kill you, at least your conscience was supposed to have told you something, that this girl, I cannot touch this girl because she is now betrothed to a son of mine. And so I cannot do this. Now, this is like, a dog eating the bone that was hung on his neck in that instance. People in his church were talking about respect when she decided. I want to believe that when this thing started, when Apostle started sleeping with her, and with all the promises made, listen, we're all humans. The girl never wanted it, and the girl told him, pump and plain that she does not want it. But Apostle was recalcitrant. Apostle was adamant that he wanted that banana, and this banana he had eaten it for a very long time, so he wanted it, and it is that girl's banana, that very banana he was speaking to, that he wanted to eat, and this banana was not willing to be eaten at that point in time, and all kinds of promises were made. Now, listen. A lot of ladies would have seen it as an opportunity. But then this girl was smart enough to tell him, actually, she was not 18, if we should go by her age, when she said her mother died, her parents died, 2016, she said she was 18 then, and fast forward to 2019, that was 3 years after. So at this point in time, she was 21 years, because now this year, in this video, she said she was 25 years old. So at that point in time, she was 21. Now, we also need to understand that, she probably was boxed into a corner. She didn't want to do it. Apostle threatened her, now according to her words. And why I am free now to say it was that at least I've heard Apostle's voice, where he said it's not that he was denying what the girl was saying, but that he was only concerned with the scandal that the girl was trying to create around him. All right. Now, so at the beginning, the girl didn't want to do it. Now, she told him, look at the consequences. If you are careless with all these things, look at the consequences. I'm not ready to do any abortion. You see? And he was like, no problem. In fact, at that point in time, sometimes when this spirit of immorality comes upon a person, they lose their brains, they can make promises. In fact, they can promise to kill their mother at that point in time, until when that visitor left. When the visitor is left, sometimes you may even go back and ask the person, you were saying this in the other time. That's why they say don't take the promises of a naked man seriously, because at that point that he was naked, his brain was not thinking. Now, so it is very, very, very unfortunate that the girl had her future planned, because initially when the suitor came, this alleged husband came, she was like, no, Apostle wants to help me to further my education. So she was actually interested in furthering her education. Now, unfortunately, the church board failed her. And once that happened, and she didn't want to spend another 1 year at home, she opted, okay, let's get married. At least I can get married and also continue my education. Now, so Apostle was aware that this son and this daughter were getting together in marriage. Now, there was something she said about, the members of the church, the elders, calling her an ingrate and being disrespectful. And one thing they fail to understand is that whenever you see a young lady like this, or either older or younger than this, having the temerity to stand toe to toe with somebody, you can either call her, benefactor, or maybe her leader, and she doesn't blink an eye to say no. Now, at least in Africa, where there is this kind of timidity, or should I call it timidity or humility towards the elderly, and most especially when it comes to the kind of church, churchiality or Christianity we practice today, because we see our pastors are saying, you don't argue with the pastor, everything the pastor tells you is just like that. Let me tell you something. if Apostle had not crossed this girl, she would still remain that innocent girl that would do whatever the Apostle asked her to do. But that was what the church board, the elders of the church, failed to decode. That almost always, when this kind of a thing happens, if you dig deep, you would have noted that either the older man had sold his birthright by playing in a way, maybe touching the girl inappropriately. They may not have even come together to sleep together, but playing with her, touching her breast, or and her buttocks and all that now brings disrespect. And to make it worse, once they have come together, climbed the bed, even if the girl is 18 years old and this man is 81 years old, now that gap is closed. Now that is when the small girl will begin to call her grandfather baby. You see, now because that respect is gone. The respect is gone. It might not be completely correct to say that it is always like that in every case, but in most cases. Now, you see, part of that is what, that statement that they made is what is very, very prevalent in the society, in the church society today. I was in a WhatsApp group and somebody made a post, and that post, angered me so much, about 10 points why you must not leave the church. Number one was that I just read number one, and that number one was annoying enough. And that number one was like, if you okay, let me even see it, or they have deleted it. That number one was like, if you leave a church, that church will not miss you. You are the only one that will suffer it. I'm summing it up. So I was so angry, and I wrote, I said, these are some of the misinformed ideas about modern day churches that have made some church leaders transcend to God of men instead of men of God. Just read point 1 and fix yourself there empathetically. Come back to tell us you still believe in that. If your church doesn't feel it when you miss or stopped going to church, then it's a nightclub and not a church. Read Acts chapter 6 and see the sensitivity of the true church leaders as against today, that most church leaders have become celebrities among their supposed fellow brethren, becoming more important than everyone else, and wait for this, becoming more popular than Jesus Christ our Lord and Savior himself. In the church he purchased with his own blood. Religion kills, the spirit gives life. I came in peace. So I actually responded to that. She came back to kind of join issues with me, but I made my point. Now this is the spirit here, and that is very, very appalling. Now the threats, we come to to it also to ask a question. Does the girl have any choice? Yes, she had a choice, but the threat, obviously, because of her level, today what happens is that these ladies are conscious of the fact that this is a pastor, even when the pastors are no longer preaching against sexual immorality. Now, but there is the conscious understanding that a pastor should not come so low to relate with me in this manner. So that is why there's always reluctance at first instance. Now, but if there is a persistency, now, of course, some ladies will even see it as an opportunity that they are going to bed with a man of God, in quotes. Now, and so they grab the opportunity, howbeit pretentiously, as if they don't want it. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm not particularly talking about this girl, but it happens in every incident of pastors sleeping with girls, outside. Now, because of the money involved, the promises involved, because these guys, they get free money. Some of them whose ministries have grown get free money, cheap money easily, and so they can also easily spend it on easy life, living this easy lifestyle. Right? So I was asking, does the girl have a choice? If this girl had been converted a Christian, there is a difference between being a church member and being a Christian. And she has developed to the point where she became an Esther. If I perish, I perish. This will not happen. Now, this is the true picture of the kind of the church that we have today. Believe it or not, majority of the places we call church are places where they rear, church members that are not even heaven, they're not heaven-minded, they're not heaven-conscious. They are just there in the church as if it was a club. And so whatever happens goes round. All right? Don't tell me that if this girl was really converted and is seriously burning for Christ, she would have taken the bold step to say, no, I won't do this. Whatever may happen, let it happen. Now, but she was afraid, obviously. She was threatened, obviously. A normal human being, 75% of the time, would think this man could kill me, this man could harm me, this man could do this. Even though there has not been any record, according to her, she doesn't know whether Apostle was capable of that, whether there is this kind of dark life that he lived, which she never knew. But the fear, I want to say, is not just the fear. I want to say that the fear played a role. Whether you like me or not, it doesn't matter. The fear played a role. But then, since Apostle wanted it at all costs, she too went into it with her full, commitment. Now, and that was why she was like, let me not double date. Let me deal with this one. If anything comes out of it, then we'll face it squarely. You see, she was talking with boldness. She knew what she was going to do. Even though that she didn't do it using the pregnancy to pin Apostle down. But then, eventually, because according to her, Apostle will not use protection. Apostle gave 10,000, very generous, for her to go and get protection. She got the protection, and Apostle will not use it. Now, at this point in time, he has signed for whatever that would come out of it. And I will stop this comment here until you listen to the rest of the video. Now, you find out that she, at some point in time, knew what she was getting into. At some point in time, was ready for the outcome. Whatever will be the outcome, she has made up her mind. Remember, she told the guy. Now, that will also explain a lot of things to you, because I read a lot of comments of those who were blaming her. You were married and you are doing this. You see, in her heart, she was not married. She was forced into the marriage. She was not married. And how can the apostle, even few weeks, few days to the wedding day of the girl, he kept sleeping with her? Now that is terrible. The act itself is terrible on its own, but that mindlessness is more terrific and more terrifying. And that brings us to the issue of now the wife, which will play a prominent role, in the next part. The wife, got interested when this news came out, and I really do not know why and how, because what apostles, the narration of the banana tells you that the man has been missing his wife. And see, whether we like it or not, if you have seen ministers, all these old and advanced ministers of God that go everywhere with their wife, everywhere they go with their wives everywhere they go to. Now, hardly do we have this kind of scandals around them, because number one, the wives will become a protection, towards them, for them, in case any seductress would want to come in to seduce them. Now, number two is that when their visitor comes, when the male visitors comes, they will have a receptionist in the place of the wife. The wife will receive the visitor and treat the visitor well, and will relieve the man, and he will be okay. Now, but for the woman, the wife, to leave the husband who has a big ministry like this alone in Nigeria here, and go over to Canada to live, it is their family thing, okay? So I'm not actually going to get into that. It's not my business, but that created the room for all these things that we're hearing. And it is also in the story that Loveth is not the only girl who has, given birth to children for Apostle Chibuzor. Now, but at the same time, there is still room for Apostle Chibuzor. Hey, you will not like this one now. You will hate me for this, but it is your business. There is still room for Apostle Chibuzor. God has not written him off. Neither has God written Loveth off. At the end of the day, if he goes back to God and sincerely amend his ways, now it will be out there that he has done all these things, but the truth is that God will write it off. But the thing is this, the stigma remains for some time. There are those who love him that will not even mind. Now, there are those that will be very negative towards this girl. Now, but before you become too negative towards Loveth, I want you also to play back this story in your heart. Play it back in your mind. Even though I have said that the girl had an option to say no, even if it will cost her life. But how many of us actually will be bold to say that no? I'm not saying that there are no persons. I'm not saying that you cannot say no. But I want you to also be empathetic. Put yourself in the shoes of the girl and see, with the boldness the girl is speaking. Now, she was not raped, but the threat kept her in there. And when she got into it herself, she made up her mind that whatever comes out of it, she was not going to leave a victim. Put this down. She made up her mind from that moment, that day she asked the apostle, I hope you are prepared for the consequences of this. And the apostle was like, stop preaching. And she drummed it into his ear so that he would get the message. And the man was not actually thinking right at that point in time. So he was signing everything. He was signing everything. And so the girl, that is why, see, when those promises of house, can you settle you, give you money, and when they were being made, the girl was taking note of that. And if you have listened to, if you have watched the other videos, the first one I posted, you see where the girl was talking about him doing this, doing that for so many people, and then how is it possible that she would not receive the same thing? And come to think about it, that was the promise that was made. This promise was not coerced. This promise was made. So she entered into this business with her whole chest, knowing that whatever happens, I am not going to be the victim. I know you will not like me for this, but at the same time, that is what I think. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. But one thing I know for sure is that God does not close the door of mercy. That is why Jesus died. You see, Apostle can still be recovered by heaven if he goes to God and amend his ways and cry to God. He will pardon him. He will accept him. Same thing goes to Loveth. But you who will pick up a fight now against me, you may be in this fight, you will not even repent. And then Christ will come. Don't go to hell because of me. You that have witchcraft in your heart, you want me to pronounce death sentence on Apostle? I'm not going to pronounce it. You want me to say Loveth is a prostitute? Why would I will not say so. Okay, I will not say so. These are two adults. In the first video, I said that these are two people with good hearts. They demonstrated pure love for humanity. Now, but then in the process, the flesh took over. The flesh, came in. They didn't plan this. None of them had this at the back of their mind. But the flesh took over, and the result is what we're hearing today. But the Lord give you understanding in Jesus' name. I will see you in the next video. Let's know what you think about this. Till then, from me to you, shalom.